Welcome back to From the Shed End. I hope you're all doing amazing on this Monday afternoon. Theo, how you doing?
Monday blues today on Monday. Yeah, I'm doing well. Monday's got off to a relatively good start. I think, like I said on the episode 99 of the pod, I'm becoming numb to these poor performances and defeats. And last season's really kind of prepped me to just kind of not let these performances have an influence on my well-being and my kind of just my how I feel about the weekend and all that. So yeah, other than that, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Not bad, like you, very much. I think I said it on Friday, maybe when we recorded episode 99. I said Chelsea will not be the reason why I wake up Monday mornings, as much as it's a blue Monday, but they will not deter me from trying to be a lot more happier than I need to be. But apart from that, I'm good. I'm good. Results aside, which we're going to get into. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the Linktree link in the description as well, so you can go and listen to the audio version of the podcast that we have on a weekly basis, and also the social handles as well. They'll be on the Linktree link, so make sure you follow all those accounts. But let's go back to yesterday, a game that I think you called a 1-1 draw, one where I said we might lose 2-0. We needed to see more from the players, from the manager, from just everything from top to bottom. But try and summarize the game against Villa, losing 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the game. I'm going to kind of like touch upon it a bit later in this recording about the atmosphere at Stamford Bridge in the last kind of year or two, but it's really, really poor at the moment. But I'll touch upon that in a bit. But in terms of the actual game, I thought first half we were actually really good. And you even sent me a message at halftime saying brilliant performance so far. We controlled the ball. We had all the possession. We couldn't really take our chances. And I just think that's what we were saying in the previous episode about Nicholas Jackson, Raheem Sterling not being clinical enough. That being said, we controlled the game. We had all that possession, but it was Aston Villa who had the two best chances of the first half. And if it wasn't for two fantastic saves from Robert Sanchez, we'd be 2-0 down going at the break. I think it was one from Zaniolo and one from Luca Digne on his left foot, sorry. Then kind of right before the break, somehow we had 3 minutes of added time and the referee blows the whistle after 1 minute or so. Doesn't really make any sense. And I think it was Moises Caicedo and Thiago Silva go right into his face trying to complain, saying it was still a couple of minutes to be played. And even me not seeing the clock on the big screen, I was completely aware that didn't feel like 3 minutes. And I think a lot of people on Twitter complained about that. Second half, yeah, I mean, the big kind of elephant in the room is a red card. I think, I don't know how to see this red card, but I think it potentially is a red card. He gets the ball first, but the follow through catches his ankle with the studs up. But also, if you look at it in kind of slow mo, Luca Digne is the one who puts his foot there before Gusto is able to kind of place his foot there. So it's almost like Lucas Digne places his foot onto Gusto's foot, which kind of leads to the red card. And I think it was a very similar kind of challenge. I think it was Nketiah. I didn't watch the game, but on the Tottenham goalkeeper Vittorio, and just a yellow. And that was one we went flying into it, got nothing off the ball. So it's just like, where's the consistency of these challenges and these calls? And the fact that he looks at the VAR screen for a good like 5 minutes or so right in front of the West Stand where I was sat, and you just know he's got like a clear slow motion kind of image of that, or slow motion kind of video of that. Give it to him in normal time. Give it to him, showing the ball. It's not really, I don't know. It was a frustrating one, and I think that kind of ruined the game. That being said, I think we had some chances, even going 10 men down. You look at Chilwell's one-on-one with Emilio Martinez. We had a couple other chances. Cole Palmer at one point skying it. But yeah, something else that I'm going to maybe complain about, rant a bit about. The referee waits until the 94th minute to book Emiliano Martinez for time wasting. He was doing it all throughout the game, taking a couple minutes, just placing the ball, taking his time, getting his players to go higher up the pitch when all he wanted to do was play it short. So it's frustrating, and he was doing that even last season when we lost 2-0 to them. Even the season before, he's a keeper that likes a bit of the shithousery and the kind of time wasting tactics. But yeah, just really poor performance again. You look at the last 3 games, Bournemouth, Forest and Villa, we haven't scored a single goal against 3 teams, and 2 of those games are at home. And even when we went down to 10 men, I just looked at the players on the pitch. None of them were going to get us a goal. None of them. Look at Jackson, his scoring form has been poor. Sterling's had a bit of a purple patch with that game against West Ham and Luton. After that, he's kind of faded away. Then if you take those 2 players away out of the equation, you're looking at Madrid, Cole Palmer, who haven't scored a single goal for us as of yet. Then you're relying on kind of midfielders and defenders, and you can't do that for a top-side team like Chelsea. I say top-side team, we're not a top-side team anymore, but yeah, really poor performance. I think the 3 kind of things that frustrated me the most were the red cards, the time wasting, and the referee not playing the additional minutes. But that's just me trying to find excuses maybe. But I think Villa probably deserved the 3 points, and they were the better team. And again, I spoke about the 2 fantastic saves from Sanchez. He made more saves in the second half. So yeah, it could have easily been more than 1-0 on the day.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was always a game that I was going into with the expectation of losing. I'll be honest. I didn't think we were going to come out on top. I thought even the lineup, I still, for me, I don't understand what Chilwell has to do to get a game, to play in his natural position. I'm not blaming Levi Colwill for being put in that position to play left back, but it is what it is. But I just think in terms of the performance, I mean, we could have played another 90 minutes. We weren't scoring a goal. We could be playing right now still, and we would not be scoring a goal. We just wouldn't. And it's frustrating because you look at the players that we've got, and yes, there's goals in them, but it's just not clicking. And it's for me now, it's a point where we just got to be realistic. I agree with you in terms of the red card with Malo Gusto. I do feel it was quite harsh, but I mean, if that was the other way around, I think I'd be wanting a red card for it. I would, because I just think he hasn't got any intention of endangering Lucadino at all. There's no violence or malicious it's not a malicious tackle at all. It's just he's unfortunate. He's followed through. He's won the ball and he's followed through. But I just think even if we had 11 men on the pitch, I think we're just not good enough. We're not a team that is good enough getting the ball forward. Sterling doesn't do enough in that final third. Nicholas Jackson doesn't do enough in that final third. We just look poor. We're poor, and it's just more the same. Like as soon as the lineup came out, I thought, yeah, we've lost. I thought we've lost because I get it. And last season, I was one of these people that was saying that Enzo needs to play slightly forward. Now I'm hearing from fans that he shouldn't be playing as a 10. He shouldn't be playing where he is and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. We could put him in goal. We could put him as a right back. Enzo isn't even the problem. The problem is, I think, that we just don't have the quality of players. We've got brilliant depth in terms of, for the next 2 or 3 years, should some of these players with the potential actually do well, we're going to be okay. But for this season right now, we do not have the squad to compete in the Premier League. We really don't. And that's a massive worry, because we've got to be honest and address the elephant in the room. Relegation is on the cards. It really is. It's on the cards. Whether people want to say that it's not, or that we we'll probably come into some form at some point, we're talking about a point where we should be getting these results. We don't even have a goal of the month contender. We haven't scored a goal in September.
0 goals in the last 3 matches, 5 points in 6 matches. Chelsea are in 14th and sit 4 points out of the relegation zone. And we're almost in October now. We played about 2 months of football. That's relegation form, like you said. It's
worst
really poor
start to the season since 1979.
And it's been an easy start. You look at the fixtures
we
had.
got that year, I think. So, I mean, take it as you want, but we're in relegation mode right now. We really are. I look at, and I'm not criticizing Colwell, but you just look at the way the goal was conceded. We were on the attack. Conor Gallagher has the ball. We lose the ball. The ball ends up with Thiago Silva somehow in midfield. He loses the ball, or he doesn't do enough in that midfield role. He hasn't got the legs to get back. We know that already. We know he's 39. I keep saying on here all the time, we should not be relying on Thiago Silva, 39 years of age, to get us out of a game. It's not possible anymore. For me, Levi Cole has to do better to an extent, because he makes the first challenge brilliant, But just see Ollie Watkins out for a corner, usher him out to the corner, get a throw in, put another really good block in. Don't just get one block in and then assume Thiago Silva's going to mop up behind you, because it doesn't work like that in football. So, and to see fans blame Sanchez for the goal, this is where my annoyance comes in, because this is where I get annoyed with the fan base at the moment. To blame Sanchez for the goal, to say Pochettino out, to say Todd Bowley out, it's not going to happen. It isn't going to happen. I can't see us. I mean, can you see us sacking Pochettino after 6 games?
No, I can't. And it's just these kind of fickle fans finding excuses for poor performances. They just love pointing the finger. It always used to be Marcus Alonso before that. It used to be Willian. They'd always used to find one player to just point the finger to when things would go wrong. And this year, it's either the goalkeeper, it's either Gallagher, it's either the manager, it's the owners, it's this, it's that. But let's be realistic. It's the whole kind of structure of the club right now. It's everything. And even the fans are partially to blame as well. They're creating this toxic atmosphere outside of Stamford Bridge, in the stadium as well. I spoke before about how, loyal fans like yourself are struggling to get tickets through the ticketing system at the moment. I go to Stamford Bridge right now, and half the people are just watching the game through their phones, filming everything. You can just tell it's their first ever game at Stamford Bridge. I don't know if that's loyal fans handing in their tickets because they don't want to go to games anymore. So they go straight to the exchange, and as a result, these kind of tourists, I'm going to call them tourists, are buying tickets and going to Stamford Bridge. But not one single song from the West End. I know the West End doesn't have the best reputation for atmosphere, but it's just like, you might as well just be sat there, doing your crossword and watching the football. But if you're going to come to Stamford Bridge, at least we'll focus on the football, cheer the team, get behind the players. It's just, and it creates such a kind of dire kind of feel to the game, going into the stadium, going out the stadium as well. It's really, really poor. And you spoke quick about the lineup. How do you think Maatsen, Cucurella and Chilwell feel being left backs on the bench when you've got a centre back starting as left back ahead of them in Colwill? They must be so pissed off and infuriated, especially Maatsen, who turned down the permanent move to Burnley on deadline day. Cucurella, who was very close to joining United on loan, and Ben Chilwell, who's a Champions League winning left back. And Dennis, you're starting a centre back at left back. I think that's when you start to get a bit frustrated as a footballer. And we're going to have to play a centre back again at right back now, given that Malo Gusto is suspended for 3 games, which means he's ruled out of the Burnley Carabao Cup game. Which, in all fairness, I'm happy about that one, because maybe that's a game you could have rested him. I know we probably don't have the options to rest him, but you'd rather you kind of don't have your natural right back in a game like that than the league games. But then he's also missing big away games against Fulham and Burnley. And I'm calling them big because those are the teams we're going to look at now.
Massive games,
because they're the teams we're going to look at, that are going to be right behind us, breathing down our necks and just ahead of us, fighting for maybe 10th or 11th position. And that's being kind of generous for Chelsea at the moment. So yeah, he's out for 3 big games, and probably going to have to rely on someone like Disasi at right back, who I don't think he's got the pace. I think he's got a mistake in him. You kind of trust him a lot more in a back 3 alongside Colwill or a Thiago Silva at right back. That's asking a lot from someone who's probably very inexperienced as well. So that spells massive kind of question marks on our next 3 games as well. But yeah, I'm just really kind of confused at times by the starting 11s. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes for Chilwell not to get a game at left back for 2 games in a row now. And this is a player that's supposedly our vice captain as well, which I find very, very bizarre. But as soon as I saw that lineup like you, I was kind of straight away, I'm thinking, now we're going to lose this. We're not. It doesn't look like a team that's capable of defending well or scoring goals on the other side of the pitch.
I mean, my biggest worry, I think, as well is, this talk of the injuries that we've got. And I agree, we've got lots of injuries out, but are they honestly going to come in and change this team? Possibly not. I mean, I went through it a couple of weeks ago or last week on one of the videos, and they're not game changers. Reece James, okay, yeah, on his day, he's probably, we know that. Moises Caicedo, who clearly wasn't fit enough to play yesterday, I think his leg was heavily strapped up at one point. He's not fit enough to play at the moment. Broja coming in, he's not. I mean, we're talking like we've got, Neymar, Messi, and Ronaldo missing in the team with Haaland out as well. They're not game changers. we need depth 100%. We need people we can bring off the bench and try and change the game, but they're not something we shouldn't be losing to Aston Villa because of, and using the fact that we haven't got, you know, Lavia, who we've never had in the team anyway, play for us. You know, to me, it doesn't make any sense. I'm just sick of the club. I'll be honest. I'm sick of the fans, actually. I'm sick of the fans. The fans are making me want to hate the club even more than I do at the moment, because I had, like you said yesterday offline, you know, the disconnects that you've got now with the club is clear to see. You know, I don't see how we can turn the page with this at the moment. And is it over? Is the season over for you? Have you written this season off now in terms of, you know, European football again next season? Possible domestic is obviously still there on the cards, providing that we can even get through the Carabao Cup in the next round. But is the season in terms of the league, you know, top half finish now? Is that probably the best we can do?
I mean, the beauty of the Premier League is you win 3 games in a row, and next thing you know, you're back in the, you know, the hunt for European football. But realistically, are we going to win 3 games in a row? No, we won't.
Are we going to score a goal?
Are we going to score a goal? Before thinking about a victory, we should think of scoring goals. Yeah, well, we've only scored 5 goals and had more captains than goals scored so far this season. So yeah, I kind of want to say the season's kind of written off. Our next game's in October. So we're already in October, already at that kind of difficult kind of winter period of the year. Next thing you know, you've got November, December, where you've got midweek fixtures. And like you said, you went through that injury list perfectly on one of the previous recordings, and none of those players will actually change the actual outcome of these performances.
Not really.
Arguably, maybe Nkuku and Reece James. But Reece James, like I covered in the previous recording, he hasn't been fit for more than 7 games in a row since his first season at the club. And Nkuku hasn't even kicked a ball yet in the Premier League. So I'm sure he was brilliant in pre-season. He's got a good track record at RB Leipzig, and he's a European goal scorer in the Champions League and with his international team. But this guy's going to need time to come back from this type of injury and also settle in and adapt to English football. So it's going to be very, very hard. And Broja as well. We kind of, every time we don't score a goal, we always say, "Oh, Broja will be back." But this guy's only got 1 goal for Chelsea. Sure, he had a decent loan before that at Southampton and Vitesse, but yeah, we're putting way too much pressure on this guy. And like you said, these guys aren't Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Haaland, De Bruyne, Salah. They're kind of players that have been out on loan, and we're putting way too much pressure on them. And do I want to rule out this season? I think so, because you look at the players we signed as well. They're on 7-year contracts. They've never played English football before. They're only 20. Malagusto is 20. He's young. This Leslie Ugochukwu as well. He's young. Mudryk is young. And these players, they need time. I say sometimes time isn't really a thing you can have at Chelsea Football Club. But can you expect to kind of challenge for silverware when your probably most experienced players is Thiago Silva, who we're slowly phasing out now? And then we're looking at Reece James, Gallagher, and Ben Chilwell. And even those 3 players are in their mid-20s, early 20s. So there's complete lack of leaders and experience in the squad. And I always said it, like when we were being linked with the likes of, I think it was Marco Verratti at one point. I think it was just one Twitter account reporting it. But that would have been a perfect signing.
Brings that balance a bit.
Bring that balance. You look at all the times he won the Champions. I mean, all the times, 2 times he won the Champions League or done well in the Premier League. You had Fabregas, Pedro, Willian, Matic, Gary Cahill, Ivanovic, Lampard, experienced players. Who do we have right now in his team that's experienced? Apart from no one. So that's why we need to rule out this season and let these players just adapt, fight for maybe 10th position again, and then go again next season or even in 2 years' time.
Yeah, I mean, got Jacko here saying, you know, and Nkunku will change things behind the striker, but probably not back in the fold till New Year. You know, some experienced players like you just mentioned, Theo, 27, 28, 29, obviously Chilwell, Sterling, those sort of players have got to be the top of Poch's wish list for January. Yeah, but I just don't think, again, and I agree that for me, the question is, how can we seriously spend £1 billion and still have that conversation about going back into the window to sign more play? We shouldn't not. I mean, obviously the transfer strategy was wrong in the first place. Maybe you go and buy a couple of potentials. You know, you go and buy your and Andre Santos's and, you know, those sort of players. You buy a couple of those and see how you don't buy a whole team of potential and loan them all out or phase some of them into the team or put some of them in the development squad and not address your senior squad And that's kind of what we've done. Yes, we brought Caicedo and Lavia, obviously Enzo January, but the two key things that we spoke about and we still speak about on this podcast is goalkeeper, striker. So we've got, if we get relegated next season, we'll be brilliant because we've got all the talent there already that can compete in the championship. But in terms of this season, we've gone into this season, a crucial one, because we need to get back in the Champions League for FFP reasons. We've got no striker. We've got no, I mean, Sanchez, credit him, he's probably been our best player back-to-back last two games, maybe even the third game as well. But we can't go back into another January or summer window. I know I scream about Ivan Toney, so I'm a hypocrite for it, but we shouldn't have to do that. We should not be having to go back into a market after spending £1 billion, £1 billion on players and still talk about, but we need to go and get some experience. I don't get that.
Yeah, no, it's the way we've kind of come about things in these transfer markets. And like Jack said, we haven't signed these 27, 28, 29-year-olds who have a track record and experience. And then Cuckoo arguably is one of those type of guys. But yeah, we've just signed these youngsters from Brazil. We've signed players that have no track record and then given them these 7-year contracts. I think it was Joe Cole saying it, that Chelsea's strategy in the last couple of transfer windows have been to sign these youngsters below the age of 21 and give them these 7-year contracts and just hope they excel. And that just sounds like something that, forget that you're on contract, but something that maybe Brighton would do with their scouting in South America. But we're not Brighton, we're Chelsea. We need players to come to the club and hit the ground running straight away. And maybe accept Enzo. None of those players have really done that since signing for us in the last 2 transfer windows, or last 3 even. So it's the complete kind of approach we've taken in these windows has been so poor, in my opinion.
What do you think about? Because obviously, I feel like Mauricio Pochettino is getting a lot of heat at the moment, right or wrong. So obviously split opinions down the fan base. I think he needs to do a lot better. Obviously, I think he needs to galvanize his team somehow. These are the tools that you've been given to do a job. You've got to make it work somehow. But higher up, I mean, looking back, Todd Bowley coming in. Everyone was happy to see a new owner to an extent come in, and obviously the sanctions were lifted, so we was all grateful for that, because obviously there was a lot of uncertainty with the transition from Roman. But surely we have to start questioning how the owners are leading this club, because Thomas Tuchel has come out and said that you can't trust the process if there's no process to trust or to follow. Graham Potter's had issues with this owners now and the club. Frank Lampard came in, and you could clearly see just from his press conferences that things weren't always green and rosy with the owners. And I think he was obviously only an interim, but you could see that things were strained behind closed doors. Now Mauricio Pochettino, who, if you remember his first press conference and the way he came into the club and the barbecue and everything, he had this very kind of positivity around him. Now that seems to be sucked out of him already. We're only in September. So surely, and again, one thing I didn't mention was obviously Eghbali going in after the game yesterday into the dressing room again, doing what he'd done under Graham Potter. Surely the owners have got to be scrutinized a little bit more for some of the mess that's going on at the club.
Yeah, I know, 100%. And like any other club, because I know Arsenal went for that period where the fans were complaining that their owners just weren't investing money or spending money for the club. And we spent $1 billion. These owners have spent $1 billion on transfers, so you can't complain that they're not kind of pumping money into the club and bringing in signings that, in their eyes, can make an impact. But I think what they've done completely wrong is their kind of approach to running a football club. You look at all the 3 managers you've listed having issues and complaining behind the scenes about the process and the project, and there not being one. You look at Eghbali doing what Bowley did half-time in it was the Spurs of the West Ham game last season, and going into the dressing room, which is something you, as a manager, when you're giving your kind of post-match team talk, you don't want someone else interfering with that. You look at how they've got rid of Marina Granovskaya, who was fantastic in my opinion. And then now there's reports that Bruno Salter, who was kind of announced to be permanently involved in Pochettino's team, is now secretly left. No kind of announcement, just kind of left. So it just seems like it's their way or the highway, and if things don't work out, you're given the chop. I do think, that being said, that Pochettino will be given time. Potter was almost given a whole season, and things really turned sour towards the end. So I think Pochettino will be given a full season. And I do think Pochettino is a lot more football kind of. He knows football better than Potter. I think that's fair to say as well. He's got more experience. He's got a better track record. He's managed in La Liga, in Premier League before, Southampton and Tottenham. He's managed Paris Saint-Germain as well. So yeah, I think he's a manager that can get us out of this situation. But the fact, like you said, he had this such positive vibe and approach when he first came, and now he almost looks like there's cracks showing. He's starting to look a bit broken. He looks a bit depleted in his post-match interviews. You do wonder, like, is this job just too hard to kind of accept and take? And I know before Poch, there was a lot of talks of Nagelsmann and Enrique, and actually there was kind of viable rumours that we had approached them. And you do now wonder if those two managers maybe rejected Chelsea because the project was just too like intense for them, or it was too I call it crazy for them, and just not kind of feasible in their eyes to kind of take the reign and kind of lead. But yeah, I do really hope that someone like Pochettino can turn this around, get the results. But it's just so hard to see right now.
I mean, I just think there is no vision. I think I remember saying this when it was Potter, so I have to sort of continue with the same mentality. But what is the project? What is the vision? Because under 3 separate managers, including Frank Lampard into that, I don't know what the vision is. I don't know what the project is. I don't know what we're trying to achieve. I don't understand what the gameplay is on the day and the patterns of play, the tactics. I don't understand what we're trying to achieve. And I'm pretty sure I said something similar to those words when it was Graham Potter. And what are we trying to achieve? What is the style of play? What's plan B when plan A messes up and we're 1-0 down? So again, maybe yesterday wasn't a good example, but there was a lot of criticism for the fact that Mudryk came off and Chilwell had to come on at one point. But I think that was just because of the red cards, and you have to sort of balance it out defensively. There were some fans that wanted us to carry on attacking with 10 men and leave 3 at the back. Like, it just doesn't work. If you look at the way Villa were playing against us, they would have gone on to score another goal had we not changed things and put De Zerzi at right back. So I just think on a normal day when it's 11v11, and credit to Bruno Salter, because to be fair, that's probably the last game that I actually enjoyed watching Chelsea.
Chelsea Liverpool, yeah.
That was actually the last game. He's one game in charge where I actually thought, yeah, I can actually see something. I actually understand what we're trying to do. And take away preseason, just gone, because obviously it's preseason. But I can't remember the last time we actually played well back to back, or even a period of 2 or 3 months where sometimes we'd go on a really good run and you'd win 6 games back to back. When was the last time we'd done that?
Yeah, I even got asked on my WhatsApp chat, when was the last time I left Stamford Bridge in a good mood?
Yeah,
and it was against Dortmund, which was back in March. And these are the statistics for 2023: 13 defeats, 9 draws, 5 wins. And under Pochettino, it's 3 defeats, 2 draws, and 1 win. So, like you said, Pochettino said we need to accept it's a project, but I'm struggling to see the project at the moment. If we're winning back-to-back games, maybe there is a project, and then we're maybe drawing one after, but winning the next one. There's a project. There's signs that we're improving, but there's no signs of a project. There's no vision, like you said. But I also think that's not down to Pochettino.
No, it's not. No. Because we said the same under Graham Potter. We said the same under our previous managers. Even Tuchel's time at the end, you couldn't really see what was going on. It's just, I don't think. I mean, I agree with you to an extent. Pochettino is a good manager. I just don't know if he's going to see it out. I really don't. I don't. And then it's a case of, well, who comes in? Because Nagelsmann's just taken the Germany national coaching job. Enrique's now at PSG, I think, isn't he? So who comes in?
No, it's September still, and we're talking about successors to Pochettino. That's
not right. We shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's more the fans. I went online yesterday, and the fans are just Poch out. But someone said Bowley out. I mean, if they don't realize, I don't think Clearlake and Bowley can actually walk away from this club for the next 9 years. I think when they took over the club, there was a clause in there to say that they have to still. They can't make any profit, I think, but also I don't think they can walk away from the club for the next 10 years when they took over. I don't know the ins and outs, but it's something along those lines. So we're in this for the long haul. And I remember saying that then, and I'm still saying it today, nearly 2.5 years later. So I just think for me, we've got to be wised up to the fact that we are not the team that we think we are. Some of the fans, and both things are right. You can expect good things from your club. You can expect your club to do well, but you also have to understand where we are as a club as well. So yeah, people say to me, "Oh, but your expectations are low," and blah blah blah. They're not low. I want us to win every single game, but I also understand that we are not going to win every single game. It's just the reality of the situation that we're in. Where do we go? I mean, what can we do to turn this around? I mean, we obviously we've now going to lose Nicholas Jackson for the Fulham game next Monday. You've just mentioned around Malagusto being out.
I think wouldn't Jackson miss the Brighton game? I think, and then be
I
back for
think it
Fulham.
might be the Fulham game. I'd have to double check, but it might be the Fulham game.
Because I know that Gusto, the Brighton game in the cup counts towards a suspension, so I'd hope Jackson's the same.
I'm going to say this actually. I don't think it even matters.
No,
I really
doesn't.
don't. Because he's that. Like I said last week, he does some really good things, the basic stuff really well, but there's some basic stuff that he just doesn't do. And I don't think, even if he is available for next Monday, I'd probably risk Royer.
Yeah,
I really would.
Yeah.
You can't play Sterling as false nine, which we tried to do. It didn't work yesterday. There's no one else. There's just no. There's £1 billion, and we're still needing a striker.
David Washington maybe get some minutes against Brighton.
And this is why we shouldn't have let Fofana go. We let David Datcher Fofana go. We should have. If we knew Lukaku wasn't going to be at the club, we knew that was going to happen. We knew Aubameyang was going to leave the club. We've left ourselves short in an area of the team which we heavily scrutinized for the last 3 or 4 seasons, and we haven't addressed it. And we still haven't addressed it now. And we it's like I said to you before, Costa's the last goal scorer at the club. 2016, 2017.
Bit of nostalgia when you posted that Costa picture last night, didn't you? Yeah.
And it's why I posted it, because I want to jog Chelsea fans' memories. This is not a new issue. 8 years we've been having the same issues that we're having now, and everyone's blaming Poch, but this has been here when Tuchel was here. We just covered over it. We won the Champions League, we won the Club World Cup. They're covering over the cracks. When you do that, it's almost, I don't know, you're being treated bad in a relationship, and then someone buys you an expensive handbag. It's just covering over the cracks.
Very well said, yeah.
We're just covering over the cracks, because all they're doing is they'll do it again and again and again, and then they'll buy you a new handbag in a couple of years. It's the same thing. We've covered over the cracks so long, but now we can't do it because we're in a point where there's no hiding place anymore. And it's worrying. It's worrying as a fan of the club. It's worrying to see the fans outside the ground, and everyone's just sort of thinking, how can I get reaction? Be very reactionary, and it's just not. It's not the Chelsea that we know. It isn't.
I can guarantee you, we said we don't kind of identify a vision, a project, and all the players that left in the summer, so the main ones being Kovacic, Mount, Havertz, Kepa, I can guarantee you the reason they left is because they didn't see the project or the vision either. And that's why they wanted out. And that's why they went to clubs like City, Arsenal, United, because they saw more of a vision and a project there with the managers and the owners there than what was happening at Chelsea Football Club. And you spoke about, the fans being so disconnected and reactionary. My parents now just don't want to go to Stamford Bridge anymore. They've been going with me since I was a kid, and now they just don't really feel a connection to the players. They don't even feel like they want to be sat there for 90 minutes around people that are not going to kind of create a toxic atmosphere or no atmosphere at all. So there's kind of, and I'm sure the way my parents feel is how a lot of Chelsea fans feel as well. So yeah, it's a real shame as well. So I just want to bring that up again about the kind of match day atmosphere. But we're almost becoming that Arsenal Football Club that happened between like 2010 and maybe 2020 or something like that. So almost a decade of Arsenal Football Club, which we called the kind of banter era. But for them, it was a transition period. And look where they are now. They're a big club. They're winning 4-0 in the Champions League. They're almost top of the table. They're going to challenge City, I think, to the very last day, like they did almost last season. And meanwhile, we were laughing at them for 10 years, but they're in a very good position now. And I think now the tables have turned and we're going to be that club. And I really hope it doesn't. You look at the fans outside Stamford Bridge, that's what Arsenal Fan TV were doing for all those years.
Shouting in the middle of the street, just shouting with no real context, just shouting. And the worry is they've all got big channels. They're all, and it's not, I'm not really a views person or whatever, but some of these people have got like 600,000 followers, and there's fans out there that will listen to them, but they've got no substance behind what they're saying. Their approach is, let's sack the manager and bring someone else in. Well, who? And every time you do that, you've got to press restart on the project.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I think I messaged you after the game yesterday. I thought, I'm not going on Twitter today because it's just so toxic and bad. And then I think eventually, after a few hours, I had the courage to open up Twitter. The first thing I saw at the top of Twitter is one of those, what you call them, audio channels where you can listen into spaces, and it was titled Poch Out. And like you said, it was a big account that was hosting it. I think 100,000 followers or so.
Yeah, it's
and ridiculous. Then I just thought, you know what? Let's forget Twitter. Let's just go straight to bed. Not worth it.
It's ridiculous because I think we just have to be realistic. And if there's only certain people I know I can have a realistic conversation with, because to say Poch out isn't realistic. To say Bowley out is not realistic. To go and say let's go and spend 500 million on players again is not realistic. Like, this isn't Football Manager or FIFA. This is real life where we have to live within the constraints of what FFP does. We have to understand that we're not the team that's going to, United went through this period that you're talking about for Arsenal. They've gone through it. They're still going through it. Arsenal, they're kind of out of it now, but they went through years of saying, we'll just make top four. We just want to make top four. We'll be happy with a trophy. That's where we are now. And just a realization of where we are. I think, does Poch need time? Yes, he does. But I also think the way our fan base is, and I remember being surprised when Graham Potter got sacked, because I kept saying, I don't think they'll sack him. I don't think they'll want to sack him. And he got sacked. Part of me would not be surprised if this owner was to sack Pochettino before the Arsenal game in a couple of weeks. If it carries on like this, I would probably see, because he seems like someone who's just very not too fussed about what happens on the pitch, as long as I'm making a bit of money, or I can know in a couple of years I can profit from this franchise. He's not too fussed about the results. I can tell that from the transfer strategy. I can tell from the players that he's brought in, some of the players that were offered to him, some of the players that Christopher Vivel suggested that we should go and get and passed upon. I can tell that his vision is long-term. Let's not worry about now, but let's worry about 4 or 5 years down the road. And if that's the project, then great. But we could be playing Birmingham City, Coventry City, Huddersfield Town. We could be playing Leeds United, in next season. If that's the project, then great. Let's strap in, and maybe I'll get a couple of tickets finally for Stamford Bridge. But if that's the vision, we're in a lot of shit. We're in so much trouble. We don't realize how much trouble we're actually in.
Yeah, transfer strategies are shambles. You look at NBA teams, the best thing to do in the NBA is buy the hottest talent from the college kind of league. That's what Bowley's gone for. He's bought all the hottest talents from the Brazilian division and the youngsters from Norway and this and that. That's not how you win trophies. And that's not what Chelsea have been doing for their last transfer strategies. If you look at it before, a couple of seasons ago, we bought in Chilwell, Silva, Havertz, Werner. Seasons before that, the best goal scorer in La Liga, Diego Costa, and the best playmaker in La Liga, Cesc Fabregas. Would Chelsea ever do that again? Sure, we got Enzo, but Enzo is a fantastic footballer, but he's only 21, 22. He's only had 6 months in Europe before signing for Chelsea, so you can't really compare him and put him on that same scale as all those players I listed before. So yeah, the transfer strategy has been appalling, atrocious, horrible.
Last thing I'll say as well, I think it's worrying because I was on YouTube last night. I left a comment, and the response that someone gave me was, "Let's bring back Jose, and I'd even bring back Eden Hazard." Now, I'm not against either of those two coming back. I just don't think they're the answer. I really don't. If that's where we are, we're that desperate to. And look, Eden Hazard is always going to be a Chelsea legend, but for someone who hasn't kicked a football really for Real Madrid for nearly 2 years and is now technically classed himself as retired, I don't think he's the answer. I don't, unfortunately. Let's not bring him back and ruin his legacy either. And also, Jose would not come back to the shitstorm of the club and the mess. And I don't think he'd even want to work with the owners. I really don't. I don't think he's so opinionated in his own vision, his own way of doing things. There's no way he'd block the owners from coming into the dressing room. He would barricade the door. They wouldn't go in. They just wouldn't be able to go in. So I think Pochettino has probably made more hassle for himself by allowing those things to happen already. You know, we're only a couple of months into the season, but I just think we've just got to ride it out. I've resigned to the fact that the season is over for Chelsea. I am very concerned about relegation. I think the next couple of games will tell us where we're going to be. And if we're still where we are now, come, you know, that sort of busy part of the season, November, December, if we're still there 14th, 15th, 16th, it could be a relegation season.
You have to remember this time last year, I think we were still fighting for top 4. I think Graham Potter went on a very good run in October. Tuchel left us in a respectable position with some wins, I think, against Everton and Leicester. But yeah, I think and we would play European football as well, so there was still that kind of feel-good factor around Stamford Bridge.
We can't even use that excuse.
No, we can't. And yeah, like you said, I'm seeing the same. I'm seeing bring back Jose. I even saw bring back Conte one yesterday on Twitter.
I saw bring back Carlo Ancelotti was another one. Do you really think Carlo, and I know they lost last night, but do you think he's going to leave Real Madrid to come back and manage us?
When he's got the Brazil job waiting for him for the next World Cup as well. It's
come on, let's. This is what I mean about if we're going to have a conversation, let's have the honest, realistic conversation. Let's not beat around the bush and shovel the shit. Really, let's just be honest. We're not playing well. We've got to turn it around. Pochettino is the manager. The owners have got it wrong. They've held their hands up slightly. They need to be held more accountable, in my opinion. And some of the players need to look in the mirror. I think that's it for me. I think the players need to do better. The manager has to do better. The fans have to do better. Let's be honest. The fans, match going, non-match going. Let's not jump to conclusions and jump to this. Oh, let's sack Poch. You could bring in Jose. It probably wouldn't even work because the way that the team's set up is not a Jose squad anyway. He needs a goal scorer. He needs a proven goal scorer. Who's the proven goal scorer going to be for Jose? It's not going to be Jackson. It won't be Broja.
Might be Washington.
Could be Washington. Maybe he'll say, "Oh, do you know what? Actually, Lukaku one last dance. Come on." Maybe, but it wouldn't work because the owners want him back anyway. The owners want to sell him. So it's just this season. It's a shame because it's only just started. But in a way, I can't wait for it to end. I really can't wait for it to end because it's going to be this every week now. It's going to be this every week for us. It will be, but I don't know. Give me your final thoughts.
I think next 3 games is going to be make or break. If we win 2 of our next 3, I think there's still a chance that we can salvage something from this season. I think if we're mid-October and still on 5 points, 15th, 16th, 17th, then I think it's game over for this season. And we just have to, like you said, fight out this relegation battle.
Agreed. I think we should leave it there. I think we should, before I say something I might regret, and get myself taken off YouTube. But it's going to be a long journey. Let's just put it like that. It's going to be a long slog. We're going to have to just gather around, expect more from the club players, but we've got to be realistic at the same time. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. As I said at the start of this, make sure you hit the Linktree link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We should have our episode 100 episodes coming up. I can't believe we're having to record the 100th episode in the way that we are as a club, but we are coming to 100, which is a good milestone. I mean, you know, not many podcasts can even sustain that, to be fair. So I think that's a credit to ourselves. But make sure you tune in for the 100th episode. There will be hopefully some little surprises as well, so make sure you do tune in for that one. But yeah, until then, enjoy the rest of the week. We've got Brighton in the cup. I haven't even processed Brighton yet. I can't even get my head around the Brighton game. I think we'll get thrashed, but we will have a video out for that one hopefully as well. But leave your predictions for that in the comments. Don't forget to let us know what you think, what your predicted lineups would be as well. Who would you change out the squad for the Carabao Cup? Theo, as always, pleasure. Very good session. Sure you'll be happy this time next week. Fulham. West London derby, 2nd of October. It's a weird game Monday night. I think we played them on a Monday night last time, didn't we?
Yes, I think so. When Willian scored,
And Felix got sent off, didn't he?
Yeah, on his debut, I think.
Yeah.
Monday in February. Yeah, I remember that one quite well. Yes, hope no repeats of that one, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't be surprised. We'll talk about it later on this week. But thanks for everyone for watching, and we'll be back soon.